watching Business Trends Today exclusively on ASBN.
Great business ideas often begin with a simple question. What if there was a better way? Well, for Ash Overbeek, that question came years after working in the worlds of art and fashion, where caviar was often part of the celebrations and special events. Curious whether that same experience could be recreated through plants, she began experimenting in her own kitchen. What started as an idea evolved into years of collaboration with chefs, food scientists, and research partners to create an entirely new luxury brand. Today, Ash is joining us to share what entrepreneurs can learn about innovation, product development, and creating demand for something the market has never seen before. Welcome, Ash. It's great to have you with us. For viewers who may not be familiar with Pearle, tell us a bit about your company.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Great.
So a little bit about my company. I guess it started with my family. My mom started her career as a food scientist, and I loved cooking growing up. I ended up studying sustainable food and agriculture, but cut my teeth, as you said, in the world of luxury, so in fashion and art. And so I worked on events in this space, and there are a lot of levers that you can pull to make an event feel extraordinary.
Yeah.
And food is one of those. And so we ended up using caviar as a way of making an event feel special. Mm-hmm. As soon as you see the tin come out, you know something exciting is going to happen.
Right.
And so I really appreciated the cultural weight of caviar. I think it has a lot of tradition behind it. It has a lot of emotional value with consumers and people who love food. And so I set out, as you said, to see if there was a way to keep that, what I like to call like functional niche, alive, but in a completely new way.
Sure.
And so I don't think the memo was to create something that aspired to taste exactly like caviar. I think the goal was, how do you fill a celebratory niche with a completely new food product that tastes delicious? And so we landed on Pearle, which is made out of a base of tamari, tomato, and kombu, which is a type of seaweed. And the flavor of Pearle really celebrates those ingredients.
That's great. So this would cater to the vegan community, right?
That's actually a really great question. I think that the plant-based community is one demographic that we're looking at, but really it's this idea of, people choose not to eat caviar or don't eat caviar for a lot of different reasons. One could be thinking about the planet, but or the ethics of how caviar is harvested. But I don't know if that's necessarily the most compelling from a business perspective. I think people may not like the taste of caviar, or they may be unfamiliar with it. There's also people who can't eat fish for allergy reasons, or they're pregnant, or for religious reasons. And so we actually have found different messaging works for different audiences, but very much Pearle, while being a plant-based product, is more excited about being a special occasion or like a luxury product that somehow brings something that is an elevated ritual into your everyday. I have it on my eggs sometimes in the morning.
Yeah.
So.
Now, when entrepreneurs set out to create a new product, or what they think is a new product out there, they do a lot of research to find out, wait a minute, is there anything like this out there already that I'm just not aware of? Did you do that as well? Did you hit Google and just go, okay, let me see if there's anything like what I'm already thinking about? And if so, what did you find?
Oh my goodness, of course. I think my journey to entrepreneurship was an interesting one in that I didn't set out to be an entrepreneur, but I really wanted this product to exist, and I looked everywhere for it and couldn't find it. So I think on this, I would honestly think of a Venn diagram where on one side you have food science and kind of culinary innovation. So a product that does something unique and tastes great. And then on the opposite side of this kind of maybe Venn diagram, you have almost like ego expressive value. So like the emotional resonance of a product, does it feel like an elevated experience? Does the branding make me feel like I'm treating myself? Where does it position into help people think of their own identity? And so I feel that overlap of a product that tastes great, is unique, but also kind of harkens to the legacy of caviar and special occasion foods was super important for Pearl. And that was really where I felt like, okay, I understand the branding. I think I have a good sense of what people might like to see in this space in terms of taste. I did a ton of research. I think that's what's so great about a food product is you can actually bring people along in the R&D in a way that feels exciting. And so every person that gave me feedback along the way, I kept in newsletters and updates. So when the product finally launched, I had a group of people that had kind of already felt like they were part of the journey.
Oh, that's great.
I think that's really important.
Yeah, for sure. Now, in most cases with entrepreneurs that set out to start a business, they'll work, their full-time job. Perhaps you were still in the luxury field and put it on events and such. Is that the case? Did you say, okay, let me look into this now and kind of put this together as almost a side hustle until it could afford to sponsor me full-time?
I definitely had this idea a while ago while I was working in luxury, but I went to business school. I just graduated actually from HBS. And so
Congratulations.
It felt like a great time to do it just because I think it's always the right question of when is the right time to make the leap from kind of thinking to doing. And I do believe that you can do that part-time. And it makes sense for a lot of people.
Right.
But my product required a lot of research and development. And so I knew I had to fundraise for it. And so I think you have to show that you're committed to your business for other people to get bought in.
Sure.
And I actually think once I decided to go full-time on this product, it was amazing the response that I was getting from people. I think people were excited about the product. And
what was it that excited them? Was it the fact it was going to be cost less for people or better for them? Or what was the hot button, do you think, that connected with investors?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think it's a variety of different, investors are one group. I think I was able to show them that there was demand for this. The caviar market is big, it is decently sized, but it has an amazing CAGR. I think we're coming on an amazing tailwind of caviar expanding from just being something that is served with blinis and creme fraiche into something that is being put on top of fried chicken. It's something that people are now associating with fine dining beyond a smaller niche.
Sure.
And so like a great caker, I think, was very compelling to investors, but just generally the resonance of this product worked very well with both end consumers and chefs, restaurants, food service, and aviation for one surprising reason, which is its shelf stability. So our product, unlike sturgeon caviar, which has a pretty delicate cold chain through shipping and transport, our product is shelf stable at room temperature. So this means we get to have a direct to consumer relationship. So when we launched, we sold out in 48 hours of our first round of caviar, and that was all shipped direct to consumer during an extremely hot summer, as you probably experienced as well.
That's right.
And so we were really lucky to be able to engage with our consumers directly. I have a theory, or this is my personal view, is that not everything you do as a kind of really early brand should be scalable. And so I reached out to every person that bought my product and asked them how they found it, what they liked. And from that feedback, we're actually launching our second SKU next month, I think. It's going to be a refill pack. So we have, actually can show you. So we serve our product in a custom built stainless steel shell with a caviar tin that can go inside. And so people have purchased the shell and they now want the refill pack. So we're coming up with just the tin that people can buy.
That is fantastic. So you decided to go direct to consumer, which is great. Very, very popular now, as you know. However, what happens when a Whole Foods calls and says, love what you're doing, we need it in our stores?
Oh my gosh. I think it's so different to sell D2C than to wholesale. And the biggest thing is being ready to fulfill.
Right.
So I mentioned that we sold out of our product, which is really great in building demand and hype and buzz.
Sure.
But it's probably the worst thing when you have a
Right.
retailer that has an empty shelf.
Right.
And so
Right.
we're super, super mindful about when we want to enter into retail. I think we're thinking more restaurants and then into retail. Aviation is a great, I mentioned before, kind of channel that we were looking at because a lot of airlines do have a caviar service. Salty food just tastes great at altitude as well. So
I would think private air travel would be a real hot commodity for you, right? I mean, that it would seem to me that everyone sits on a private aircraft and goes, "Where's the caviar?" You know.
we've definitely been having some conversations there as well.
bet.
But yeah, I mean, it's just about fulfillment and stuff. And I mean, it is. I'm sure you know, but it is so different to make a physical product than a software product.
No,
And so
no question.
it's interesting in thinking about, how we overcome production challenges.
Now, you are speaking of challenges. I want to get to that in just a second. But are you now full time with Pearle, and that's what you do every day?
Absolutely. It's what I do every day.
Okay.
I fundraised upon graduation, my last month of business school, and I've been full time ever since.
Right. That's fantastic. So speaking of challenges, I want to get back to that. Most entrepreneurs will share with me some of the real obstacles and challenges that they've had in bringing their new idea to life. What were some of the biggest challenges that you encountered, and how did you work through them?
Oh my gosh. I think there's probably two that come to mind. One is almost this like education aspect that we talked a little bit about earlier when you're trying to enter a new market or introduce something that consumers might not fully be able to understand from the get-go.
Yeah.
And then the second is production. I mean, if you're making a better for you ketchup, for example, there's kind of a standard operating procedure on how you make ketchup.
Yeah.
And for us, we had no rule book or playbook for it. And so, there's just really not a standard way to make what we're doing, especially because we wanted so much to make something that felt unbelievably luxurious.
Right.
And so we ended up making over 50 recipes for caviar. And then we had to find a production facility that was willing to take a chance on something so new, train all of their staff on how to make this product. And then at scale, we had done a lot of benchtop trial and development. My very first thing that I had bought when I was testing this out was a portable boba machine. We've come really far from there. We have custom made machines for our dripping step in the process. We also have custom built draining tools that we use as well when we pull the caviar out of our baths. And so, I think what's interesting is we really wanted to have a product that emulated the size and appearance of caviar, just to make it so easy for consumers to understand.
Sure.
And so you have a very small pearl, about like 2.7 millimeters in diameter, and all of these different factors are interdependent, right?
Yeah.
So it's the text, doing something to the texture can actually change the color. And we have our packaging, we actually source it from France. We import our tins from the same factory that a lot of sturgeon caviar producers use. And so how does the vacuum sealing in the tins also interplay with the product?
Sure.
And does it stand up to transportation? But just realizing that I couldn't adjust one variable in a vacuum was like a really big challenge. And so just like, how do you accomplish something with 12 different sensory, thresholds that you need to hit?
Now we're showing the packaging, which is extremely impressive. I mean, this looks like something that you could send to somebody as a thank you gift, or some kind of an inspiring gift to give them. Maybe it's even a company, a corporate type gift that you would send to some of your top clients. I mean, talk to me about the importance of that overall packaging that you've designed.
Yeah, packaging was a really important one. I think it's speaking for your product before a consumer can taste it. While I really believe that taste is the most important part of a food product, consumers are, I guess, eating with their eyes first. And so I I thought a lot about this because I look at shelves at a grocery store and I think that there's a almost like proclivity to move towards bright colors and sans serif fonts.
Sure.
And I think that those food products are amazing, but we're playing in a space where you're talking about heritage and tradition.
Yeah.
And so I actually took a totally different direction and was inspired by French apothecary labels from like the 19th century and just this.
Yeah, it
this
looks
kind of
like a very classy product before you even open it. I mean, you know it's a cut above the others.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the point or the goal was for it to feel timeless, but also a little bit modern, which is basically like the product that we are manufacturing.
Sure, I could see this perhaps greeting guests, on the table when you go into a Ritz-Carlton hotel or a Four Seasons, right? When you know what I mean, as that extra little gift that they give you for staying at their resort.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be great.
Well, that call may come now after this show, right? So
yeah, we've been speaking with some great hotels too. I think like even a mini bar option. I mean,
there you go. Right.
It's a crazy thing when, I think about sauces almost as like this very interesting parallel. So you have table sauces and you have cooking sauces. So like maybe miso is a cooking sauce and chili crisp or ketchup, back to the ketchup. I don't know why it's coming up so much, but like ketchup is the table sauce. And, you see this table sauce category grow because it's easy for people to add sauce as a topping to something that they've already created.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need a kitchen to eat caviar.
Right.
And so I think that's what's also so exciting is you can put it in a mini bar because people can just open it up and have potato chips with it or something like that versus being intimidated because you don't know how to cook with a new ingredient.
Right. It would be interesting to know, and maybe you know this already, for the people that have already purchased your product, how many of them were first-time caviar purchases or even tasted it for the first time? That's not a very common product,
Yeah, I don't have the numbers, like the breakdown specifically, but what I can say is just a lot of people actually have tried caviar but haven't liked the taste of it and prefer our product, which is that's when I get so excited because I'm like, okay, great. We're not trying to be this kind of, comparison product. We're trying to be our own thing. So that tends to be the case. We have several customers that are allergic to fish and so have never tried caviar and are so excited to be able to like participate in something that they've always wanted to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're what we call a category creator. I mean, this is really an entirely new category, if you will, right? I mean, it's not caviar. I mean, obviously it's a food product. You didn't create that category, but this sounds very, very unique. I mean, it's not like I've interviewed people that say we make a better chocolate chip cookie or we make a better potato chip. Okay, well, that's already a category. But in your situation, this is something that's pretty fresh and new.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, a ton of white space in the market. I think it really helps when I'm speaking with specific buyers. Sometimes with smaller marketplaces, they really only want one brand per product category. And so it helps that we are kind of like our own category and a new product that they're excited to stock.
Right.
And then I think also with this is food, like the food landscape is kind of uniquely attracted to innovation. And so when I'm speaking to chefs and stuff, they're so excited about the properties of like the sensory properties or functional properties of my caviar that make it different from sturgeon caviar. So, it's difficult to put caviar on top of something that's very hot.
Sure.
And so our product actually stands up phenomenally well to heat. So like, how can you incorporate caviar in something that normally you couldn't before? How can you have it interplay with more acidic thing? Yeah, so that's exciting.
Is there any challenge in calling it caviar in the sense that it's not really true caviar, right? Is that a challenge or?
So we call our caviar kombu caviar, which is a caviar made of seaweed. And it's really kind of an interesting landscape because caviar really is from sturgeon, but then people talk about paddlefish caviar or salmon caviar, and that's actually not really the technical term, but I think we're kind of going off of an understanding term. I wouldn't know what else to call it besides caviar unless I would call it just Pearle, which actually hopefully it will just be known by its name.
That's fantastic. Let me ask you this. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that are watching us have this conversation today, and many are thinking about a food product or have come up with a great idea, working in their kitchens or what have you. What advice would you have for those entrepreneurs out there that are thinking about taking the step that you've already taken?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I would say
have a lot of money set aside.
Well, definitely do your research on how much things cost and then probably double it because you always will run into things. But I think the advice that I would give would be, there's a really interesting balance between having conviction about an idea and having the flexibility to change when new information comes to light.
Sure.
And so I would say, have a product that you believe in. I mean, when I think about my company, it's not necessarily like, yes, we make plant-based caviar from seaweed, but it's like we are creating like a way for people to enjoy special rituals in an entirely new way that doesn't involve animals.
Sure.
And so I think having a North Star, but then understanding that you're probably going to have to iterate and pivot and learn a ton and to not be discouraged by that would be the advice. And like the best way to learn is just by doing. I think I was always mired in, trying to always make the right decision, and that can lead to a lot of bottlenecks. Yeah. So making a decision and learning from it quickly is important.
With your mom's background, what does your mom think about all of this?
Oh my gosh. Well, she's tried the caviar and she likes it, which is important. It's always important.
You got mom's sign off on that approval.
Prepared. Yeah, parental approval. No, I think it was so exciting. Sure. Obviously, I know my mom as my mother on a personal level, but I had never really interacted with her in a professional sense before. Sure. And so I think it was just so special. I mean, my mom is totally my role model and my hero. And so getting to talk to her about business questions and hearing her advice and realizing, wow, my mom is not only an amazing mother, but she was an amazing scientist and businesswoman was really cool.
That is pretty cool. Last question, where is Pearle 5 years from now? What are your wishes for the brand?
Oh my gosh. So I see caviar honestly sometimes as just a beachhead. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do one thing in the luxury plant-based food space well and just knock it out of the park. But I'd love to expand into other kind of occasion foods. Mm-hmm. Foie gras, as an example, might be an interesting next step that we would expand to. But I think Pearle in 5 years, my goal would be for it to be served alongside other types of caviar on menus around the world. I'd love for people to feel like they are able to interact with a food group that for so many different reasons they weren't able to before. Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. What a story. Thank you so much for spending so much time with us today and sharing your story, your early success, being sold out in the first couple of weeks there. That's very impressive. So Ash Overbeek, founder and CEO of Pearle. This is a company you want to check out online right after this show. I'm telling you, you're going to like what you see. And congratulations, Ash, on all your success so far. I definitely want to do a follow-up with you because you're just the type of entrepreneur that we want to follow, and this brand I know is going places. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jim. It was a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching Business Trends Today exclusively on ASBN.